Welcome to Living Life in the End for the Successful and Fulfilled Woman. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes, the Liberated Lawyer. I help women to get everything they desire in life by equipping them with powerful strategies to achieve the fulfillment they desire and deserve. Who said you can't have it all? Clearly, they did not know about living life in the end. When women make powerful decisions and create great strategies, they can have everything they desire in life. Girlfriend, forget about choosing between being successful or fulfilled. You can be successful and fulfilled. It's time for you to get everything you desire and deserve. It's time for you to live your life on purpose. It's time for you to live a life that is fulfilled, meaningful, and full of joy. It's time for you to walk boldly in the power of your decisions. If you are going to be in this world, you need to be fulfilled in this life. Life is too long to be unfulfilled. Join me for another episode of Living Life in the End, where you learn how to live fulfilled, fit, and free. Welcome to Designing a Life on Purpose series. You often hear me say at the end of each musing that fulfillment doesn't happen simply because we desire it. It happens when we decide to go get it. Well, this series is going to walk us through the 11 petals of the Successful and Fulfilled Woman framework so that we are equipped to design the life we desire and deserve. Being successful and fulfilled comes about from building a life that is on 3 foundational pillars: being fulfilled, being fit, and being free. And within each of those pillars are petals that enable us to blossom and bloom into the life we desire and deserve. So as we design a life that actually works for us, we can become empowered as we open up each petal that give rise to being successful and fulfilled. Within the fulfillment foundation are the petals: family, friends, love, and purpose. The fit petals are fitness, focus, and faith. And free petals are finances, frolic, fashion, and freedom. So in this series, we're going to walk through each of these petals, and I'll share a little bit of how I have used these in my own life and invite you to use the power of these petals for yourself. Hey, it's time. It's time for Musing from the Mind of Dr. SDB, where I share provocative thoughts to help you live your life in the end. Girl, I've got something on my mind. Let me say something that might mess up a few fantasies, but heal a lot of hearts. Love is not supposed to complete you. Forget about the Jerry Maguire movie. Love is supposed to complement you. If you're entering relationships hoping to be saved, chosen, validated, or fixed, what you're doing is outsourcing your wholeness. And that always comes with a cost. We're continuing our journey along the petals of the successful and fulfilled woman. And today, we're talking about the love petal. And before anyone tightens up, this episode is not about being anti-love. Y'all, I love me some love. But what I love more than love is healthy love. Not a love that requires self-erasure, being on an emotional roller coaster. Y'all, we are not trying to be like Vivian Green or some kind of spiritual negotiation. Because let's get this straight, y'all. Love is not a rehab program. It is not a human renovation. It is not a transformation experiment. Lord have mercy, y'all. Somewhere along the way, many women have been taught that love is about endurance. We kind of took that part of Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, that talks about love and said love endures all things. Y'all, that ain't what he meant. That is not what he meant. We think that love is about sticking it out, being patient, praying harder, and just keep trying. Now, don't get me wrong. Love is patient. Love is kind. Patience has its place. And definitely any relationship worth building requires a certain level of patience. But love is not supposed to be a rehabilitation center for emotionally unavailable adults. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Actually, I'm going to say that again for myself, Jesus. Love is not supposed to be a rehabilitation center for emotionally unavailable adults. You may be smart. You may be magnificent. Well, ain't no maybe. You are smart. You are magnificent. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, but you cannot change another human being. You are not a ministry assignment. Not everybody, not every relationship, not every love interest is your assignment. You're not a fixer. You're not required to bleed in order to be loved. And here's what we have to realize is that healthy love does not ask you nor demand that you abandon yourself to keep a connection. Y'all, if I ain't learned nothing about love over the years, this is a lesson I have learned. Now, y'all know I'm divorced. I've been divorced almost 10 years now. Praise the Lord. And I was once committed to this notion of love endures all things. And that I just needed to stick it out. And I just needed to try harder. And I just needed to stay in the relationship. And I've talked about this before, for a number of reasons. My ex-husband and I grew apart. We were married when we were 22 and 23 years old. And we did not grow together. We grew apart. And that's not a disparagement. It's just a truth. As we evolved as human beings, what we wanted from life differed. And because I had come from a divorced family, I was so committed to ensuring that my children would never have to endure a divorce and that I would never get divorced. I was going to make it. That is what my contribution to the generation was going to be, that I was going to be the one who broke the trend of broken marriages and broken homes. And my commitment to not getting a divorce made me become committed to fixing something that could not be fixed. And it could not be fixed simply because there was a point at which the relationship had completed its course and the two of us needed to transform into friends rather than husband and wife. Now, the maturity that it took for me to realize that did not come automatically. And I can't even say at the end of that marriage I truly realized that or could articulate that so maturely. But years of therapy and self-awareness and self-reflection and honesty have helped me to identify that there was a point at which the love that was in that relationship was no longer healthy. And I would love to tell you that I learned that lesson and never repeated it again after that marriage was over, but I didn't. I didn't. I have repeated that mistake. All I'm going to say is more than once, Jesus. And I have finally gotten to a point where I recognize what healthy love looks like. I did not learn what healthy love is solely because of a relationship. But largely because I decided what healthy love needed to be for me and what I needed to be to feel whole. And I learned how to be whole regardless of whether I was in a relationship or not. And so now I'm able to judge the relationship up against my wholeness as opposed to trying to find wholeness through being in a relationship. I hope that makes sense to you. I'm going to get into that further, but I remember the day, honestly, when I finally learned and was truly willing to accept nothing less than what I deserved in a relationship and how I deserved to feel, and took responsibility for how I had to advocate for the love I deserve rather than merely expecting someone to give it to me. And I accepted responsibility for my own actions that contributed to relationship hurt, what I allowed, what I accepted, how I lowered expectations, how I just went along with what I knew deep down inside was less than what I deserved. And while I do not accept sole responsibility for every piece of heartbreak that I've felt, because certainly there were some actions taken, not taking, etc., I do take full responsibility for allowing the heartbreak to magnify and not removing myself when I realized that this relationship was not the best for me. We often hear the term, it takes two. And I think we know in our heart of hearts that it takes two for a relationship to be fulfilling and for it to be healthy and for it to thrive. But I think sometimes we don't really think that we really are one of the two people that are responsible for how we enable, allow, accept how others treat us. We must become responsible for loving ourselves in such a way that we will not allow unhealthy love to be given to us. We don't receive that. Because far too often, quite honestly, we get caught up in the chemistry. But chemistry is not compatibility. Y'all, I can't tell you how much trouble I have gotten in the love area behind some chemistry. Anyway, lest I digress. Chemistry can be intoxicating. It can feel spiritual, magical, magnetic, all the good things. But chemistry without alignment is just attraction on fire. Compatibility is quieter. It shows up in how a conflict is handled, how accountability is received, how consistency shows up, and how value aligns under pressure. Let's just stop right there and talk about values. I can say unequivocally that the serious and committed relationships I've had that have not lasted have fallen apart because of a misalignment in values. I can also unequivocally say I knew that at the beginning and I ignored it. It is important for us to, one, know what our values are, and two, to know how to determine if our values align with the person that we now are feeling this chemistry from. I have articulated with uncertainty what I value in a relationship and what I'm looking for in a man. And these are not superficial things, although I do like a handsome man who wants somebody that's unattractive. But a lot of times we get caught up in the handsome man and he ugly on the inside. I'll say it like that. He's ugly on the inside. So let's not get caught up in the superficial. But I have a list of qualities in what I seek in a love relationship. And they're things that are very easily identifiable and things that are really important to me. And when I have dismissed the fact that something that's very crucial, because they're relatively weighted. There are some things that are non-negotiables, but when I have negotiated on my non-negotiables, the relationship has not lasted. And then I'm acting like I'm surprised when now I'm having conflict and now I'm having these issues when I knew from the beginning that there was a crucial issue or crucial misalignment that was not something that was going to necessarily get into alignment. Because at this mature age, people are who they are. And I think it is especially important when you're dating later in life to recognize that there's only so much a person can change. Change is always possible. I'm not being pessimistic in that regard. I'm being realistic and saying that at this stage in our lives, we pretty much are who we are unless we are on a path to continuously evolve. And there are shifts that we can make as we continue to evolve, but there are also fundamental aspects and fundamental values that are the core of who we are. And so when you recognize and identify core value misalignments, those are things that are pretty set, and you're not necessarily going to be able to get someone to change them. So we really have to be honest about the values that we hold and the values of those with whom we have a chemistry, and understand if there is a true possibility of alignment for those values that we hold as core values. Because if you keep choosing chemistry over character, over value, over alignment, you will continuously be caught up in the chaos of passion. And that's not romance. That's just cortisol. That's not love. So be honest about who you are so that you can determine if who they really are is in alignment. And when you realize that who they are is not in alignment, do not take it upon yourself to try and fix them or force them to become someone they are not. You can always share what you desire, but that person has a choice. And either they choose to transform on their own or they remain committed and true to who they are. And you can't fault them for it. And you have to be honest with yourself and recognize when who they are is not really who you need and who is best for you. And then that relationship needs to transform. And that's how we use self-love as a filter to determine if what we have is a healthy love or something toxic. And this is the truth that most people skip. The way you love yourself sets the minimum standards for how others treat you. And I'll be honest, that is where I have learned and grown the greatest. Because if you abandon your needs, and if you explain away red flags, if you tolerate emotional inconsistency or emotional unavailability, you're not being understanding, you're not being kind, you're not being patient, you're being misaligned. Self-love is not just affirmations and bubble baths by themselves. Those are great things. Self-love is boundaries. We started the series out talking about boundaries. Every relationship needs to have boundaries where you advocate for yourself and you decide what is acceptable and what is not, and you stick to it. You advocate for yourself based on your decision. And sometimes that means withdrawing. Self-love is also discernment. Y'all, I don't know why I won't listen to myself. I have been able to pinpoint with great certainty the exact reason a relationship is going to fall apart at the very beginning, but I don't listen to myself. If I ain't learned nothing, I have learned to trust my discernment. When I got a feeling, I believe it, I act on it, I don't ignore it, and I don't dismiss it. Self-love is also walking away when something violates your values, even when it hurts. The biggest gift that I have given myself is permission to release myself from a relationship. It doesn't mean I always walk away, but it does mean that I realize that there is a point at which, because I love myself, I can and should release the relationship. I am too old to fall into believing the fallacy that love has to hurt. It does not. It does not. And when I have given myself permission to release a relationship, it has given me the power to experience joy and peace for myself. And that is the biggest lesson that love has taught me, is that sometimes you may love someone, but you must love yourself more rather than allow someone you love to rob you of the peace, joy, and happiness that you deserve. Our values are the core of who we are. They anchor us and center us and hold us up. And we have to learn that non-negotiables are not ultimatums. They're choices. You choose for yourself what is important to you. You share what is important with the person you love, and you give them the choice that is something they can fulfill or not. And it's powerful when you learn to have peace with either result. Whether they decide to give you what it is you ask, or whether they decide that they don't. You have to be good either way. That is powerful, and that is a path to peace. Because let's clear up this misconception. Non-negotiables are not demands. They are self-respect in sentence form. Your non-negotiables might include emotional availability, spiritual alignment, consistency, integrity, mutual effort, faithfulness. Because the truth is, if someone calls your standards too much, they're just really saying, I benefit from you having less. And they have the right to decide for themselves what is too much for them to give. And you have to be at peace with that. Healthy love is not accepting less from someone solely for the purpose of having them in your life. Because love should expand you. Again, not complete you, expand you. Healthy love does not shrink your world, it expands it. It does not make you quieter, it makes you safer to be fully expressed. It does not complete with your purpose. It does not compete with your purpose. It supports it. It does not resent your growth. It roots for it. Healthy love complements who you are and is a complement to who you are becoming. The right partner doesn't fall in love with your potential and then resent your power. And this is an especially important point for successful and fulfilled women. There are many times where, because we are successful, our success is weaponized against us. And I always have put it like this. You can't expect a Ferrari to just be a little Camry. A Ferrari is meant to be raced. It is meant to have power. It's a little flashy. It's not quiet and unassuming. Nobody buys a Ferrari and then resents it because of its power. Same thing goes for powerful women. The man who is meant for you will love your power and your potential and your intelligence and your drive and your ambition, and he will find that sexy. The man who is intimidated by that just ain't your man. And that is often a hard pill to swallow. The right partner recognizes your power and chooses partnership anyway. Pause with me and ask yourself, do I feel emotionally safe in the connections I pursue? Am I dating from desire or from depletion? What patterns keep repeating in my love life? What version of myself shows up when I'm trying to be chosen? And here's the brave question. Am I willing to be alone long enough to be aligned? Loneliness is the biggest danger to self-love. What we do out of loneliness is detrimental to finding the love that is aligned with who we are and who we are becoming. Alignment always outlives attachment. How does love contribute to fulfillment? Love is not separate from fulfillment. It is an expression of it. How can you love life if you don't love yourself? How can you love another if you don't love yourself? These things go hand in hand. Fulfillment, though, comes first. You can be fulfilled and not be in a relationship. Being in a relationship is not a prerequisite to being fulfilled. But being fulfilled is a prerequisite for a sustainable and healthy relationship. If you are not whole when you enter that relationship, there will always be a void that needs to be filled. You don't build a healthy relationship to become whole. You build a healthy relationship from your wholeness. And when you're whole, you choose differently. You leave sooner, you leave, period. You settle less, you love deeper, but you love safely. If you want clarity on where your love petal really stands, take the Fulfilled, Fit, and Free profile. It will help you see, without judgment, the health of your love petal. You can take it at livelifeintheend.com. And if you're ready to do deeper work around relationships, boundaries, and self-trust, book your complimentary revelation conversation at everythingideserve.com. Love is not something you earn through struggle and endurance. It's something you experience through alignment. Wholeness is the prerequisite. It is not the reward. In our next episode, we're going to step into purpose, because knowing why you're here changes everything about how you choose. Until then, live life in the end. Live fulfilled, live fit, live free. Well, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you for joining me for another musing from the mind of Dr. SDB, where I share provocative thoughts that help you live your life in the end. I hope you learned something. I hope you felt something. But girl, most of all, I hope you do something. Fulfillment won't happen because you desire it. Fulfillment will happen because you decide to go get it. Let's get it. This episode was brought to you by the Successful and Fulfilled Woman New You Transformation, a VIP day for the high-achieving woman who is ready to be successful and fulfilled. If you are a woman who feels burned out and uninspired, or you are a woman ready to start over after a divorce, death, or other disruption, or you are a mother whose children are ready to leave the nest or are already gone, and you are now ready to create a meaningful life for yourself, or you are a woman who's approaching your golden years and you want the next half to be the best half, or you are a woman who's ready to get more out of life and ready to stop marking time and start living life, then we need to have a revelation conversation. Go to www.everythingideserve.com to schedule your complimentary revelation conversation, where together we will talk about where you are now and where you want to be, and begin to develop a plan to get you where you desire to be. You will leave your revelation conversation understanding the first thing that you can start doing today to begin living a successful and fulfilled life. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Living Life in the End for the Successful and Fulfilled Woman. Please be sure to let me know what made you feel something, what you learned, and what moved you to action. Please subscribe so you don't miss out on a great conversation. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast and let me know how you are living life in the end. Life is too long to be unfulfilled. Don't keep all this goodness to yourself. Tell someone else to listen for themselves. We should all be fulfilled. Remember, your life is the product of your choices. Choose to commit to bringing the desires of your heart to completion. You don't get what you deserve until you get what you decide. Life is too long to be unfulfilled.